What up, peeps? Nick Battle, aka Nino's Corner, man. Hey, official Bleacher Report, Texas versus Texas A&M, live post game show. I'm not in my normal setup today, folks. I am actually out of town at some family's houses in Atlanta, Georgia, so not back in the home studio. But hey, we're gonna make do with it, man. Texas beats Texas A&M 17-7, man. Great game by the offensive line. Great game by Trey Wisner. Great game by the Texas defense. Game balls go to all those three. Very alarming because it seemed like Texas wanted to give this game up to Texas A&M. Texas was up 17 to nothing, ends up winning the game 17-7. Texas marching down to make this at a minimum a 20-0 lead. Quinn throws a pick six. Texas is on the next drive. After the defense makes a great stop. Texas comes down. They're going in for another touchdown at the minimum, a field goal. Quinn fumbles the ball too as well. And yeah, it's a 17-7 game, and Texas A&M has all the momentum going in to go score a touchdown to make this 17-14. The Texas defense does their thing and holds suit. Let's get some game balls out. A scary part that happened earlier today was that Kelvin Banks Jr. Actually left the game, in the first half there just due to a leg injury, I think the left leg. However, Trevor Gooseby, a guy who I have had on my show when he committed to Texas, just a couple years ago, Trevor Gooseby comes in and does an outstanding job to where you didn't even realize that, you had a redshirt freshman coming in and playing at that left tackle position, one of the most coveted positions here in college football. In football, like just in general, comes in, locks down that side of the line as well, and you have a clear line that is very together. The continuity between that line. It seems like they didn't skip a beat, even with Gooseby in the lineup. Outstanding game. Trey Wisner. What a game that Trey Wisner had. It's got to be one of our favorite players here on my channel, at least. So Trey Wisner, man, 33 carries for 186 yards, man, averaging about 5.6 yards a carry. Another game where he was able to have huge amount of carries. I think the last game was at 26, 27 carries, but had over 160, yards also in the last game as well. So you're saying that after Texas lost CJ Baxter, and actually losing CJ Baxter, we thought that we couldn't find who was going to be our star running back. Was it going to be Jaden Blue? Was a guy like Trey Wisner going to step up? Was a Christian Clark going to step up? Christian Clark, a lot of people love him, and then he ended up getting hurt too as well. And then we have, like the baby Rhino and Jared Gibson, he comes into as well. But Trey Wisner has definitely secured that position. He is our top dog in that running back room. Him coupled with that offensive line did some really good things here, tonight for this team. Texas had a masterful defensive showing, from the first snap on. Shout out to Moochie, man. Taft, man. Michael Taft, man. I said Mookie. Is it Mookie or Moochie? But anyway, Michael Taft. So Michael Taft, man, had a hell of a game. Interception. He had one play, I think, on the first drive, where Marshall Reed actually escaped to the left side, has a one-on-one with Taft, and Taft wraps him up. And I thought that was outstanding because what it did, it ended up forcing, I think, to a third down, and Texas was able to stop the Aggies and actually have them punt the ball. On the second defensive drive, if I'm not mistaken, he actually gets the interception there as well. The defensive line, man, was outstanding. Vernon Bryden popped all over the screen today. Trey Moore really well. Ethan Burke with that great fourth down stop, man. You gotta love you gotta love what you saw from that Texas defense, man. They were outstanding in this game, and it was something that was extremely needed here for this Texas team. Thoroughly enjoyed the game, guys. If you guys didn't get to see the game as a whole, man, you need to go watch that play-by-play, like from my boy Nash Talks Texas. But outstanding defensive performance. A lot of people are saying, is this Texas defense, is it stout? Is it legit? Who have they played? Had they been tested? Well, the Texas defense had another game where they did not allow more than 300 yards. In fact, they only allowed 248 yards of total offense in this game today. They forced, was it 2 fumbles today, if I'm not mistaken. They had an interception too as well. The Texas A&M rushing offense only rushed for 102 yards, only averaging 3 yards a carry. Texas did their thing. They did not allow many explosive plays today, which is great and outstanding. If I'm not mistaken, I think they only allowed three plays that were over 15 yards or more. I think one from Terry Bussey. Well, actually, two from Terry Bussey. One from Trey Watson there as well at the tight end position, and also one from Walker as well. Walker had a huge catcher for a first down. But the Texas offense, if I go back and swap it there, you get to see just the kind of plays that they made. I thought this game was going to be one where I thought Gunnar Helm was going to shine and do great things, and Gunnar Helm did a damn good job today. To the tune of 6 carries and 56 yards. Man, had another couple plays where if he picked up the blitz and saw the blitz was coming, if he turns his head in that first drive, he's wide open. Quinn hits him. But overall, great game here by the offense there. Texas offense, when it comes to rushing the ball, rushing for almost 5 yards to carry on 50 attempts, man. So 50 carries for 240 yards, man. 4.8 yards to carry, and one rushing touchdown from your boy Arch Manning. Arch Manning came in, and you saw he had that swagger in his eyes. He had that look in his eyes where came in, ran the ball off an RPO on the fourth down, the 4th and 2. You can tell Sark was kind of feeling himself, and he took means into his own hands. Very aggressive in that game, and it was awesome. It was awesome to see Arch come in and do his thing too as well. Outstanding win here by the Texas team, man. Sark had a really good coaching game plan. Hate the turnovers that did happen. So almost like Texas tried to give this game away. A&M couldn't take it, and the Texas defense stood stout, and they handled business as business needed to be handled. Masterful game, man. It's just one of those games that you'll never forget. This is the 13-year Cold War. Texas hasn't played A&M in 13 years since Texas A&M went to the SEC, and Texas was left in the Big 12. But the 13-year Cold War, where both teams lost a lot of money by not playing each other. Just guys who were stubborn at the top, not wanting to schedule each other. However, Texas comes back and wins it at Cal Field, home of the 12th man, and they secured a win in the first year of the SEC, which leads Texas, man, to play in that SEC championship game, and I'm very excited about it. Question here from Moneymaker 03. He says, "What do you think about the rematch with Georgia?" I actually like this rematch with Georgia. I'm glad that Georgia actually won their game yesterday too, because Kirby's very good at getting his players motivated after a loss or when he thinks that people are down on them. Georgia winning that game yesterday was perfect for us because they do win the game, and they understand that, guess what, they're still probably going to be in the playoffs if they lose this game. I like Texas's chances in this game. I think Texas took it personal with Georgia when Georgia kind of beat them up. Georgia's defensive line beat up our offensive line all day long in that game. I think Texas took that personal, and I think Texas has put themselves in the mission to get into this SEC championship game. And I think that they're going to match up well against Georgia. Georgia's game against Texas was like Georgia's Super Bowl for the year, man. You can tell they threw some things out in that game that the Texas offense hasn't seen, or that any other offense hasn't seen since Georgia's played them. But I do like Texas in this game. I think they're going to match up very well. I think the key is going to be which quarterback is going to make the least amount of mistakes. We've seen Carson Beck make a ton of mistakes here this year too as well. We've seen Quinn has been a little bit of lackadaisical with the football too here. Also especially in this game against Texas A&M, those 2 turnovers were costly. And any other defensive team that didn't have the defense that Texas has, this game's probably a loss. We give up a block punt. Quinn fumbles the ball. Quinn throws a pick 6 as well. Those are 3 turnovers that you usually don't overcome. However, that Texas defense was a stout defense that was actually able to overcome that. I think the Texas and the Georgia game is going to be a really good matchup. It's hard to beat a team twice in 1 year, and I think that Texas has a great opportunity. I think this team kind of understood what the upper echelon of the SEC it's like on a week in and week out basis, and I think they've gotten kind of used to that. Playing teams that have played everybody pretty tough. You understand that. Texas beats who was it last week? Kentucky last week. And they kind of did it thoroughly. They actually beat A&M pretty handily today too as well. And since that Georgia game, they just been kind of going a week by week basis of just going 1-0 and beating who's in front of them and taking care of business, whether it's on the road or whether it's at home. So on this neutral side, it's going to be very interesting. I think Georgia will probably come in favorite, but this game's going to come down to which quarterback is going to make the least amount of mistakes. If Quinn comes out and plays the first half, Quinn for a complete game, Texas wins this game easy. Sark's play calling was outstanding. His play calling was good. In the second half too as well. So that the team has to execute, and mainly I think the quarterback had to execute and do things a little bit better than what he did. But I think if Texas comes in and does their thing, Texas has a great opportunity to win this rematch, win the SEC in their first year here in the SEC, going into the college football playoffs, because Texas has really secured their spot now in the college football playoffs, and I'm very excited to see that. So to answer the question, I think they're going to do very fine in that rematch against Georgia. One thing also I want to talk about too, man, is this is the Trey Wisner game, man. Quintrevion Wisner. Man, I tell you what, Trey did his thing. The 33 carries for 186 yards, man. This was definitely his game. And I wouldn't say it's coming out party because he did a damn good job against Kentucky. But this wasn't last week wasn't the stage that everybody's going to see. It's primetime, ball here. Texas A&M versus Texas, man. Primetime, 7:30 game, and Trey balled out, and he did what he's supposed to do. And it was just an outstanding game by him. You can see that Choice, the coach for the running backs, was on the field. You can tell he was hyping up his guys, and you can see that Trey did great things. Trey coming out of DeSoto High School, man, just an outstanding talent. A lot of people thought that Trey Wisner was like a package deal with Jonte Cook, who is not on the team anymore. However, Trey has showed his worth, and Trey has showed that if you're a guy that's actually willing to work, like put in the work and just kind of wait your turn. Man, this is an awesome opportunity for you to come in and play great minutes here at University of Texas and be not just a player, but be like the player, in a certain game. And a certain game was against Texas A&M in a 13-year Cold War that we had against A&M, the 13-year Cold War that we had against those Aggies, and haven't played them in a while. But Trey Wisner, man, coming in and playing physical. He's a guy he's listed at 6 foot 200 pounds, and just seeing him on the field, I'm like, is he bigger than 200 or not? And so talking to some of the guys who I talked with on an Inside Texas, like they were saying that Trey doesn't look that big, man. He looks probably 180 pounds or so, man. But Trey is awesome. Trey is awesome, man. He runs tough. He gets skinny at the right moments. Always knows just how to find the right running lanes, and he I don't know who to compare him to from the past Texas running backs that have played here at this school, but he is one of those guys that knows how to get his pad level correct. He's always falling forward. He's always falling for about 5 yards, man. But Trey had an outstanding game. Only knock on Trey is that you can probably say he doesn't have that breakaway speed, but when you're consistent and you're hitting 5 yards to pop and a 16-yard run here, a 15-yard run here, a 2-yard run, but then you hit a 6, he's consistent. And he's a guy that I think Texas has understood that they can lean on, right? And so you got to love that. Next guy I want to talk about, man, let's talk about Arch Manning. Arch Manning, I think, understands that, look, guys, he's the heir apparent to the throne. And him coming in and running that touchdown today was truly outstanding. You got to see some of the moxie of him. Of course, guys, he's a Manning, right? But you got to see the attitude in him. He has like a little bit of like some dog in him. You know what I'm saying? And he's outwardly expressing that dog, man. And man, Arch played a really good game when he needed to. And I think Sark's can understand too. When someone to run that ball, man, I wouldn't, want to have Quinn back there running the ball. Arch has some wheels. But look, I'm not going to discount Quinn's wheels today, man. Quinn ran the ball very well today. With the ankle, like just being injured, Quinn ran the ball extremely well today. Quinn had a really good first half, man. It was great to see him run the ball. I would have loved to have, see him not have those turnovers, but it is what it is, man. Texas comes up to win. Think he will be gone if Ewers comes back. I don't think Ewers is coming back. So that's just my opinion. But if I'm Arch Manning, I think he understands this is his team. So minus the fumble. And the hold on. What do you mean the blank? Are you talking about Quinn minus the fumble, or Quinn minus the fumble and the interception too as well? I don't foresee Quinn coming back. I think Quinn's going to go to the league, and I think Quinn understands too. This is Arch Manning's team next year. You can't keep a guy that's that talented, a 5-star perfect recruit here on the bench for 3 years in a row. This is his team next year, and I think Arch stays for a couple of years and does some great things. Texas is in a really good position, folks. I don't think people understand that having the quarterback depth that Texas has, having a Quinn Ewers who, whatever you think about Quinn, he has taken us out of that quarterback, death hole that we've had here for years, man. Well, I shouldn't say only Quinn. First it was Shane Buechele who kind of took us, like from that era where Texas needed a constant starter. And Shane had a couple seasons or 3 or 4 seasons in the NFL. And then after Shane, man, you have Sam Ellinger who kind of stabilized that position. We had 1 year with Casey Thompson, which was what it was. But then Quinn comes in and he gives us 3 years of stable quarterback play. Going what was it, 8-5. Last year was 12-1, and this year we are 11-1. Well, I'm sorry, last year was 12-2. And this year we are 11-1 going to play in the SEC championship game. Behind the arm of Quinn Ewers as well. So Quinn has definitely gave us a smooth transition, and a guy who's going to be a high draft pick. I look at Quinn to be a 2nd or 3rd round pick just from the arm talent alone. Then after Quinn Ewers, guys, guess what happens? You got Arch Manning coming in here, man. Arch Manning coming in. You're seeing that Steve Sarkisian has stabilized the quarterback room here at Texas. It's something that we have been looking for the past 13 to 14 years. But yeah, man, to answer your question, I think Ewers goes to the NFL. I don't think he transfers. I think he goes to the NFL. He has too much arm talent. He didn't close out the season the way that he probably wanted to, and I think he understands it too as well. But Quinn's going to go make a lot of money in the league, man. He's one of those guys that he's just talented. His arm talent is great. His ball placement is outstanding too as well. And it's just certain parts of the game. Like today we had to pick 6. It happens, right? It happens to the best of them. So yeah, soon to be 12-1. I agree. And yes, man, Sark has stabilized the entire roster. I totally agree with that. It's a stat I like to pull out there, and you guys can see some of my work on my own channel. Whether it's going to be at NinosCornerSports.com or on my YouTube, or if you see me on like Inside Texas or whatever. And I talk about this all the time. I talk about the Texas offensive line and the woes that Texas had before Steve Sarkisian got there. And Texas was like ranked dead last in the Big 12 when it comes to offensive line recruiting, tied with Kansas. And Sark has definitely revamped his team, and you've seen that he has stabilized the offensive line. Going out and getting those 7 offensive linemen who you were seeing. Those 7 offensive linemen from the first class that you are seeing are doing outstanding work here. Kevin Banks Jr., DJ Campbell, Cole Hudson, who's gotten a lot of snaps too as well, right? Neto, who's going to probably start next year, probably at left guard once Hayden Conner leaves, right? And so you are starting to see just how talented that this roster is. Y'all say hard to follow when you live in Arizona. You're in Arizona, man? You're in Arizona? Yeah, man. I actually live in Connecticut. I'm a Texas grad, but I'm a diehard, of course, man, and go to as many games as I can and do all my work and stuff with all the other websites, including the Bleacher Report too as well. But yeah, Sark has stabilized this entire team, this entire roster, even on the defensive line. You've seen what he's done for the linebacker position. Look at the guy like Anthony Hill. Anthony Hill was supposed to be a Texas A&M guy. We were able to get him to flip, man. He's been outstanding last year. He did great work for us last year. Against Bama. He also did great work this year. Definitely. He got screwed by not being on the Buckets finalist list this year. However, he is one of the best linebackers in the country, and he shows his worth every freaking game. Just talking about linebackers, what Sark has done, man. Having a guy like LaFau, getting a guy like Tyanthony Smith, and you're seeing just not only is Texas able to go to the portal and get players to come in and fill needs, but they're also able to recruit. And their development piece on their side of the house is truly outstanding and is second to none. But talking about the development piece and just the team as a whole, let's take a look at Coach PK. Coach PK. He is one of the best DCs that is not talked about here in college, football. PK is doing this thing, man. This defense has gotten better every year, and he has shored this defense up to become the best defense. I think in college football. If not the best defense, it's definitely one of the top three in college football. And it's because of the development piece. And we're starting to see when guys come back, they get better year in and year out. So Coach BK is not getting enough talk, man. Awesome defensive coordinator that I hope he's the guy that stays forever. Goosey was zero let down from Banks. D night and day. Hey man, Trevor Gooseby. Like I said, I interviewed him when he committed to Texas. So shout out to Trevor Gooseby. It's a couple years ago. I interviewed him, and he's just a grown man at that age, and you can see the maturation process in his body and what Texas saw in him. I think I remember seeing him do like some windmill dunks and stuff like that when he was in high school. He's like what 6'6" or what have you. I think when he was coming out of high school, he was like 260 maybe or something. Texas has put the weight on him. They seen the athletic build, that he has. And man, Trevor Gooseby is something else, man. There was zero letdown, which is crazy because Kelvin Banks Jr. man is going to be a top 10 pick in the draft. He might be the best left tackle in the country. But Trevor Gooseby played his butt off. And that just shows you the maturation process and the development that this team can do from the players that they recruit from high school, and also some of the guys that they get from the portal too as well. But yeah, but Sark is assembling a championship roster. We're seeing that they're going to go play in the SEC championship game here in the first year in the SEC. Texas is doing outstanding things, man. You're seeing across the board just how great this team is looking. A couple mistakes that probably shouldn't have had, and Texas blows this game out, and it's probably a 31-0 game. At least, at the minimum, a 26-0 game. However, Texas comes up with the win, and when you go on the road to play against Texas A&M, your arch rival, your little brother. Look, man, just all jokes aside, but you take a win where it's a 1-point win or it's a 50-point win. A win against A&M at Cal Field is a win that's necessary, and it's a win that can move some things. And it's talking rights for the next year. We beat OU this year. We beat A&M this year too. We thoroughly dominated both of those teams in both those games, and those are our two biggest rivals. And we won, so we got bragging rights here for for the next year. So Banks should be the first offensive tackle off the draft. It's going to be very interesting to see who's going to be the first OT off the draft board. Banks definitely has that shot. He's so calm and collective. He's a guy that has been starting since his freshman year, and he has just the calmness about him. He has the wherewithal to understand, his position. I mean, he's also one of those guys that he's just a grown man, and you can tell that some of the things that he's gone through in his life. You've seen the specials on ESPN about his mother and things of that nature. So you see exactly that Kevin Banks is a grown man. He's a very mature man, and he's a guy that's going to be a really good asset to a team once he gets to the NFL next year. And I can't wait to root for him. He's one of those guys that you go and you buy a jersey, from that guy, because he's one of those guys that does it the right way. And he's one of those guys that you want to see succeed once they get to the next level. What's the next question you got? You said, so what do you think about people saying Texas hasn't played anyone? OSU. So I'm guessing OSU is going to be Ohio State. Wow, lost to a team. Yes, Texas has definitely played people. And look, it's funny how Texas never plays anybody until the teams that we didn't play go out and beat or give teams beat downs or scares. Like, for instance, Texas plays nobody, but Vanderbilt beats Bama, right? So they go and beat Bama, but but Vandy's nobody, right? But Texas beats Vanderbilt and kind of dominates them too as well. Texas doesn't play anybody. They played Arkansas, right? We beat Arkansas, who beat Tennessee, who's the number 8 team in the country. Texas doesn't play anybody. Well, we thoroughly dominated Kentucky, who beat Ole Miss, right? Texas doesn't play anybody. Well, we thoroughly dominated OU, who just beat Alabama. Texas doesn't play anybody. We haven't played anybody ranked, whatever. Yeah, they keep saying that, but We just beat a ranked A&M in their home in one of the most highly anticipated games probably in the last decade for Texas A&M. Texas doesn't play anybody. Well, we beat Florida, who thoroughly dominated Ole Miss. So, people got to get out of that, out of that mentality that Texas doesn't play anybody. Texas beat Michigan. We thoroughly dominated Michigan in the big house, and Michigan goes out and beats the number 2 team in the country. So out of conference, in conference, Texas plays. They beat who they're supposed to beat in their conference. They beat the guys that they're supposed to beat out of the conference too as well. Now Texas, Texas has to go to the SEC championship game. They're going to get some hopeful get back against Georgia. It's going to be an interesting game, man. I can't wait to see the matchups. Georgia was so pumped up for that game, you can tell. Do they have the same energy, for game number 2? And Texas has something to prove. And I like Sark's chances in the get back game. I do. I like Sark's chances. Texas should move up to the number 2 team in the country this week. And I'm ready for it, man. But nothing matters until we win an SEC championship game. I tell them we are in their headspace. Exactly, we're in their headspace, man. Texas. Everybody wants to beat Texas. We are the Super Bowl for a lot of teams and a lot of people, especially A&M and OU. Of course. In Georgia, it's looking like they had their game of the century here against Texas this year because they felt like their backs were against just the wall. And so you gotta love what you're seeing from Texas. Loving what I'm seeing, man. Loving what I'm seeing. Yes, we have got a lot to prove against Georgia, and I'm hyped for it. I am too. I wanted Georgia to win yesterday because I wanted Texas to play the best version of Georgia. I don't want Georgia to have any excuses on why they maybe or look good or maybe did not look good. I wanted them to have everything in their path. And I think Texas is going to go in there and handle business, man. Texas should go out there, win that SEC championship in the first year, man. Let's see exactly what happens, man. Outstanding game here by Texas, man. I can't be happier, man. Me being a Texas grad and a Texas fan, to see Texas come into the SEC, and kind of light it up this first year was great. One thing also about Texas, what I want to talk about, man. I want to talk about this about the receivers, man. There's not a lot of people that stood out, right? And that's because Texas was able to actually have the ball kind of handed out and dished out to, what was it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different receivers caught balls today. Led by Matthew Golden. He had the 3 catches for 73 yards, man, averaging about 24 yards a catch. And 44 yards was the longest. I do want to highlight that one catch by Jaden Blue, man. Oh my God, Jaden Blue. What a catch. What a catch in the back of the end zone, man. The concentration that he's had. And I'm happy for him too, because he had the fumbles over the last couple of weeks, man. But to see Jaden Blue come in and make that catch, man, that was outstanding, man. That was really, really, really good work by Jaden Blue, man. Who's one of those guys that kind of got overlooked because he didn't play his senior year of a football. But Jaden Blue, man, was the number 1 running back in the country when he came out of high school in his junior year. When he didn't play his senior year, they dropped him in the rankings. But anybody that knows ball, knows talent, knows the balance he runs with, the quickness he runs with, great acceleration. One of the fastest guys on the team, man. And if he can just shore up those fumbles, man, he's outstanding. But what a great game by him. A great 1-2 punch between him and also Trey Wisner. And we got to see Baby Rhino today and Jared Gibson too as well, man. So Texas is going to be walking into Georgia. They need to put Trey Wisner in an ice bath because we're going to need a lot of carries from him. And I think this Texas offensive line is going to be up to the task to come out and do some great things, man, against Georgia's defensive line. I can't wait. It's going to be a great chess match between Cal Flood and the Georgia defensive coordinator. I'm excited. I am excited, extremely excited, man. I cannot wait to see this. And one thing that we learned tonight, Texas A&M has 2 defensive linemen that are going to go top 60 in the draft, right? Top 60 in the draft, right? I was excited to see Gooseby. I was excited to see that if Kelvin Banks Jr. had to leave a game, what was going to happen with this offense? And I saw that this offense is very prepared to have the next, I won't say great because I don't want to throw that word around, but the next guy in line to come in and do great things here at the University of Texas at left tackle is Trevor Gooseby. And just to see just the maturation process of him, to see how his body's transformed over the last couple of years. It's just good to see him step up and be the guy that we're going to see play here next year, probably starting. So that's awesome. The great game, man. The penalties were very limited from the offensive side of the ball, especially on the offensive line. And that's one, so that was one of my keys to the victory when I was in Inside Texas today. I was like, the thing that's going to get me, we got to have ball security. That's one thing, but also the penalties. We got to clean the penalties. I know that Ken Williams had a lot of penalties this year, but man, he had a clean game today. Oh man, DJ Campbell, good clean game today. He got blown up on one play, but for the most part, DJ Campbell was a beast. So excited. Excited. Texas fans, man, let me know in the comments how you feel, man. Appreciate you guys tuning in for this live post game show, man. Outstanding, man. Win by Texas, 17-7. Texas wins against Texas A&M, them Aggies, in the 13-year Cold War that we had, man. And I tell you what, excited, excited, excited. Yeah, fumbles, interceptions need to go away. I am with you. But folks, let me know what you think, man, in the comments. Appreciate you guys, man. Horns always up. Nino's Corner, we're out on Bleacher Report. Hook 'em.